is, I think the statement that your system is kind of making is, there's no hope here. Nothing good can come of this point. It's an experience of despair. In the same way that at a very deep, almost spiritual level, anxiety is an experience of fear, I would say depression is an experience of despair. It's saying there's a dead end. There's a real hopelessness. There's a worthlessness. There's a finitude to things, futility to things. You can even feel the weight in the room as I'm talking about this, right? That's what it feels like in therapy when someone comes in and they sit. Even before speaking, I think now my system's kind of cultivated to pick this up, and I'm like, that's depression. It's heavy in the room. You can feel it in the pauses, in the in-betweens.
That's really good. I mean, I just wonder then, there's a question I think some people may be thinking, which is, okay, cool. Suppose, anxiety or depression or anything else I may be dealing with, is there anything I can do about it in and of myself, or do I have to go to therapy? Is therapy for everyone, essentially? Because this is something that, I was talking to a friend about the other day, if one friend asks another friend, have you been to therapy? And they're like, oh, no, I don't think I need it. They're like, yes, you do. You should go to therapy. Everyone has to go to therapy. You kind of wonder, is that true? Is it that we all need to, explore these thoughts with somebody else that's external to us? Or are there things I can do in my day to day to maybe, pursue better emotional health and stuff like that?
Yeah. I would say that transformation by conversation is for everyone. Therapy can be a really useful context for that. For most people, therapy is going to be very, very useful. Now, if you are in a position where you can begin to interact with that kind of transformative dynamic, whether that's journaling, so starting to interact with your own thoughts outside of yourself, or whether that's with a trusted friend, a mentor, someone that you feel you can, without any kind of filtering or editing, share of your internal experience, and for them to reflect back to you what it is that you're sharing. If you have context like that, it can be really useful to begin that work of actually starting to unpick some of the things that you're experiencing through this anxiety. So maybe starting to slow down and think, okay, when does this anxiety come up? When did it start? Did I have a life before this sense of anxiety, existed? And what did that life look like? So what might have changed? It's just starting to become a little bit of a detective, start asking these questions. And the same with depression and other kind of experiences like this. I do think that there are some behavioral things that we can start to do. I think therapy, different modalities of therapy work in different ways. The kind of talking therapy, the psychotherapeutic getting into the detail of things tends to be thought of as kind of top down. You're looking at what's happening in the brain and maybe in the soul, and then seeing how that plays out behaviorally in life. But there are some bottom up things that we can do. So when you're depressed, you tend to want to not really be around the happy people. Everyone else is having a great time. I'm not. That's a lie that we tend to believe. So you tend to withdraw. You tend to not really engage in the things that you used to take pleasure in before. And so simple things like opening your windows in the morning, choosing to make sure that you're waking up at a decent time each day. And it's going to be hard. So maybe recruiting a friend to say, hey, could you call me and make sure that I'm out of bed by this time? You're not going to feel like doing it at first. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be enjoyable. But what it is going to do is start kicking up your nervous system into an active phase of working, and that in itself can provide the kind of motivation to start looking at, okay, how did I get here? How did things get here for me? When did I start feeling like this? Is there someone I can go and speak to? It's called kind of behavioral activation. That's stuff that can happen at the beginning. It's stuff that you can start doing from early on by yourself or with trusted friends. There does usually reach a point where you think, okay, I'm going to need some more input to really understand the roots of this, but also chart a clearer path forward for more enduring outcomes. And I think that's where therapy can be really useful. And also for people who find those initial steps really difficult, actually it's not as easy to do that by yourself. So to have someone to help lay out the plan and also kind of walk with you through it is a really useful thing in therapy.
I do want to get your take on, some interesting quotes that I've heard, especially on the grief topic. But the reason I ask you about what people can do individually is because there does appear, and I don't know if this is just perception or if this is true, and I hope you can sort of correct the record, there appears to be a sort of shortage of like black therapists or like black female therapists
to be?
or black female Christian therapy, like it just
my
gets
goodness.
because because the amount of people I have, and I know obviously I know you outside of this, and I've sent you so many different people over the years, and even now there's still people who message me like, I'm looking for a black female Christian therapist, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I know one.
I know a few.
I'm not sure if she'll have the time, but I know one because I don't know. I mean, how important is diversity in this kind of?
So important. So important. As much as we say that you don't need for your therapist to have gone through exactly what you've gone through to be able to empathize with you and connect with you. And I've worked with therapists myself who aren't from my kind of demographic, who aren't at all, from the same background that I'm from. And it's been really useful work. But there's something in being able to see someone who looks like you, who understands your context, with whom you don't have to define your shorthand, your way of kind of interacting with the world. That it kind of greases the wheels of therapy. So much of therapy is about a therapeutic relationship. It's about